For episode 100, there was no other game to play other than Battletech, which we insisted upon. So we're playing King of the Hills. Bum, ba, bum, 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 ba, bum, 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 ba, bum. Showing up for the honorable side of the board is Jade Falcon with their do as I say, not as I do sense of honor. Coin Flip is rolling on with the Arcab Legion with some mercenary support from none other than Memphis Mark rolling that Smurf Blue. This scenario is pretty straightforward. It's something we're still beta testing. It's kind of like King of the Hill, but you have two objectives, so it's kind of more like capture the flag. We're working out the details, but the idea is to put as much stuff on the other guy's hill to get as many points as you can. There is an interesting caveat, though, that you score points based on how many lights you still have on your own hill. So we're working it out. I'm rolling a very uncharacteristic list, or at least it's becoming more characteristic for me. Clan Heavy Assault, which is something I normally don't suggest against Intersphere opponents that are running Heavy Assault lists as well, but, you know, I'm warming up to the idea. In the opening moves, I go ahead and make all my light mechs go prone. Again, we're scoring within 5 hexes of the area. I'm putting the light half star just to chill out over here on this side of the board, marked right here. Unfortunately, I've got a gargoyle in that list, and he doesn't effectively score because only lights and mediums in this scenario score, and he's a heavy. He makes sense fluff-wise to be in the light unit, but I didn't consider that. However, on the other side of the board, you can see the Arcab Legion and the mercenary support grouping up, moving through these hills over here. I already have a plan in mind. I'm going to move everybody as an effective force right here, this entire star. We're going to gang up and just pummel whoever we can find, and then we're going to try to defilade using smoke barrages off of the Mark II. It's worth mentioning that Hell Star, in an effort to redeem his Munchkin honor as the epitome of clan technology, has decided to honor duel. We actually have rules for this, and he's decided to randomly pick his opponent. And he picks the Cicada? He must have a Gwent card, because there's no other reason why he would go off to the other side of the board, forsaking his role as that titan crunching machine he is, to engage some scrub on the other side of the board. The roles are actually pretty fleshed out. There's going to be some shenanigans and movement at some point later on. However, winning the duel is worth roughly a third of the points that we're capable of earning. In our victory conditions, it's possible to partially fail the objective by just losing line of sight and other shenanigans like that. So nonetheless, I started screaming, "Come at me, bro! 1v1! Hellstar versus Cicada, let's do this!" Yeah, I can't say clan honor brings out the best in me. I mean, it's Call of Duty with battle mechs. Come on, I'm probably shouting something about his Stravog mother while I'm doing it. Initial shots were traded in this fire phase. We managed to do a little bit of damage to the Marauder marked right here, but otherwise the shots were largely ineffective. I move up the Gargoyle, realizing my failure of cognizance, and start moving forward. He's going to try to hunt down the light hover tanks that are swinging over here back behind the Thunder. At this point, the ranges are about 15 hexes, and we are on turn 2. This is entirely too close. We have closed with the units, and like the large lumbering battleships that they are, I have positioned the clan battle mechs in such a way that it's going to be difficult to turn and feint. I have misjudged the distance. They're going to be a little bit closer than what I intended. If you take a close look at my list, you'll note that I have a lot of units that are going to hit equitably at about 20 hexes, and he's not going to have a shot at all. It's going to be a long game if we end up doing that, but I'd rather take the confident victory rather than the dicey one when we're giving him shots that are capable of hitting. This turn, he does decide. All of the mercenary mechs decide to light up the supernova. They're going to hit him with everything they got, hoping to take it down. It ended up causing a PSR on it, but for the most part, all the damage is mostly ineffective. In return, clan fire is highly effective as we tell everybody, you know, honor be damned, shoot that walking museum piece as everyone lights up the Marauder for the second turn in a row. We strip the armor off of it. Having almost no armor to spare in this given turn, we managed to cause enough damage to put it into force withdrawal. I do believe a gyro and a fusion engine hit, and despite all the stacked PSR mods, it manages to stay standing for the turn. Things are going well for Jade Falcon at range 15. We're still doing equitable fire. It's okay, but they have a lot more units at this point, and they're able to sink a lot of the units in the initiative track on the hill, forcing me to have to move more units than I normally would. Gargoyle sprints forward, trying to make himself useful, while I get the raw end of it in our card initiative, and I'm forced to very carefully negotiate the distance, having to walk my Supernova and Madcat Mark II in such a way that they can still get shots off, but unfortunately not get much of a mod to speak of. We're going to start circling the wagons, moving our units left and right, not in much a different way than you would see horse archers from the medieval era. We're just trying to keep our mod up, swing things around in a very awkward pattern, and get those heavy lumbering dreadnoughts back away, because we don't want to expose our back armor, and we certainly don't want to stay close to them. As mentioned in our strategy, we're going to start throwing smoke now to try to create some sort of escape vector, because we don't want to leave the Mark II or the Supernova exposed to this kind of fire for a turn or two. And as they start moving all their units into roughly one corridor marked here, it becomes very painfully clear where we're going to place that smoke. Cicada moves forward onto the other side of the board. He's trying to flank the units. Hellstar says, "Yo, bro, let's go!" and starts running over towards him. We're trying to close the distance as much as we can. We've gained a line of sight. According to our scenario rules, the first unit to break line of sight and isn't capable of regaining it, if it forces a situation where it's you break line of sight, loses the honor duel. So now they're locked in line of sight with each other. And if you can think about some shenanigans that you can do with movement, hey, you can force a few victory points by just forcing the other guy into moving into a place that would require him to maintain line of sight, but otherwise wouldn't be very great for him to be in. Inner Sphere gets real danger close as they start lighting up the Mad Cat that decide to move out in front of everyone else. I lay down the smoke as fast as I can, but it's not going to take place until the end of the turn. Mad Cat ends up getting the raw end of it. Inner Sphere Fire is effective this turn, even though the higher movement mod of the Mad Cat presented a situation in which they probably had better targets to shoot at. The Mad Cat's way crunchier. The Mad Cat in this turn ends up losing nearly all of its armor on its right side. It's not great. It's not in forced withdrawal yet. It doesn't lose anything important, but it's just a matter of time. As we round out the turn, clan fire is dispersed. We don't manage to do a great deal of damage to everything, but we do put a lot of damage onto the Thunder, and we put more damage into the Marauder, hoping to put it down completely, but only instead further reinforcing its status as forced withdrawal as the thing overheats drastically trying to stay in the fight and takes significant damage in response. It was actually a very smart play by Mark, because he realized what kind of situation he was in, that he was about to be put into a situation where he'd be forced to move it off the board, and decided, you know what, let's just stop and shoot. It's actually a real smart maneuver. He knew what was going to happen and made a very excellent play about it. So Jade Falcon's into a conundrum. We've already began our turn, so we can start moving things and start falling back. The smoke's going to provide us some cover from different units, and we got to start opening up the range while the Hellstar goes off and just kind of Brody quests his way to victory on the other side of the board. We just hope he at least wins that engagement. With 4 PPCs, he tagged the Cicada once last turn, amazingly, and wouldn't you know it, that model Cicada has exactly 15 points of armor on its arm. So we didn't even significantly disparage it. Nonetheless, Jade Falcon still's got issues. We're close enough with some of their fast movers that they can start overwhelming us. We've got hover tanks on this side of the board. We've got the Bushwhacker that's closing in. It's a good cavalry mech, but we could probably outrun it, or at least put it into a situation where he's having to deal with the heavies. The heavies begin moving back as slow as they can. Again, this is a real awkward turn as we start doubling back and moving away, because I don't want to get close to those Inner Sphere mechs. He's got a lot of AC-20s, and when it boils down to it, the Inner Sphere just benefits so much more from being at close range than the clan. Shenanigans happens here with the Hellstar as I back up. This is an important move, because if he decides to move the Cicada in any way that breaks line of sight from this particular maneuver, he loses the honor goal. So he's actually going to follow through with it. The Cicada's like, yeah, okay, let's do this. And you know that nothing but mad props. Cicada versus Hellstar, yeah, let's do this. Come on, let's go. This bizarre mech was built for pirates, and yet still somehow has advanced construction techniques. Make what you will of the fluff. That's right, it's the Brigand! Not a bad design. Just a little odd. You'd expect pirates not to be able to afford Indosteel for their own homegrown construction, but there's weirder things in the Battletech fluff. Mad Cat reconsiders his mortality, begins moving back. He's not in fourth draw yet, we're just moving him back as fast as we can because he doesn't have much armor to speak of. He exposes his back for it, but you know what? The back has more armor at this point, so we're just going to let it roll. Hover tanks begin looking for their openings as they move forward, trying to get real close and nasty. That's real gutsy. But it's probably smart because the clan have too much to shoot at this turn. They're still focus firing on the real issues, not wasting shots on high movement mod targets. Nonetheless, the Thunder is a much faster mech than I thought it was. It closes and makes itself really, really scary. There's not much it has to do to appear as threatening as it does, but it clears the defilade and opens up from around the rocks into that Mad Cat. He wants to take it down. He opens up with that AC-20. Bang! Whoosh! Misses. Oh, thank goodness for that clan luck, right? Nonetheless, he still gets tagged with like half of everything in the inner sphere inventory and manages to take a crit through the center torso and puts 2 points onto the engine, causing it to go into forced withdrawal. Well, it's better than nothing. He could have gotten the crits the normal way, but wouldn't you know it, he managed to do it through just a random crit because he doesn't have much armor to speak of. At this point, it's a bad trade. We've more or less lost a Mad Cat for the value of the Marauder. That's not great. And when it boils down to it, the Marauder might still get another good turn of shooting. So, this isn't great. Cicada moves forward. He jumps forward, jumps on top of the hill, tries to get the highest mod that he possibly can. Best move that he could possibly do. Opens up with his PPC on the Hellstar and whoosh, miss. Hellstar turns around, opens up with 4 of his PPCs. And wouldn't you know it, hits with only 1, hits the leg, and 15 points of armor. Wow, not even a PSR. Having protected themselves behind the smoke screen, the clan have really nothing better to shoot at this turn. And open up with just about everything they have onto the Bushwhacker and rips it to pieces. Having taken off most of the armor, we give it a PSR and causes it to fall down. It's the best that we can. The Mad Cat D decides to shoot at the Thunderbolt, lighting him up with those nice little PPCs. I love the RPC. I love the Mad Cat D. It's such a great mech. And with its minor mod, in case this one has, it puts all the SRMs forward. So, it can really light something up if it wants to. It manages to strip off some of the armor on the Thunder coming around the corner. Gargoyle, however, was in his prime, having had a turn to walk. He decides to go ahead and light up those little SRM tank nuisances, kills one through motive crits, and manages to significantly hobble the other with his SRMs and LBX-5s. It's great. There's actually an interesting discussion to be made. He has Inferno rounds, but he opted to fire normal SRMs. I just want motive crits. I don't want to kill it outright. And side shots on a hovercraft, come on. So things will start turning around for the best clan, as we manage to kill one of the hovercraft, damage another one, take the Bushwhacker and give it something to think about, and send the Marauder off. For in exchange, we just have one Mad Cat desperately leaking coolant fluid everywhere as it's trying to get off the board to safety. Clan assault units are still desperately trying to negotiate the situation that they presented themselves in. They need to make distance between them and the inner sphere assault units, but they can't afford to run or expose their back, so they're just kind of waddling back as the Gargoyle plays defense, trying to keep all those nasty little inner sphere hover tanks off their back. They start sinking the skirmishing units early in their initiative steps, and the Gargoyle takes advantage of that. He's trying to chase them down to make them pay for the insolence of even trying to take on an honorable mech warrior of Jade Falcon. Thunder, marked here, decides to go for blood, running, trying to chase down that Mad Cat, get close with its AC-20 to try to do a little bit more damage. They don't want that unit to get off the board. Shenanigans continues to occur as I move the Hellstar back early in the initiative steps, marked here, and he's forced to continue to make the Cicada chase him down, move out into the open. I'm not going to violate the honor duel. I'm not going to gang up on the Cicada, but boy, is it tempting. But unfortunately, he's faster than me, so he gets into the back arc, and, well, that leaves the Hellstar with just one PPC to shoot him with. I mean, it's a lot against a light mech, but come on. Hellstar's supposed to be kicking ass, but the Cicada's just kind of taking his name. Na 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 na. But you and I know statistics will catch up with them. But as the Intersphere units begin moving into more or less a kill box, having been defilated away from the Barghest, we now can open and fire. The assault mechs marked here all decide to open up on the Thunder because there's really not a whole lot better to shoot at. Some of them's got back arc shocked, and they just start lighting them up. Gauss rifle slugs start filing into them. ERPPCs start hitting them, and we start lighting them up with just about every ER laser that we have off of the Supernova to the point where we can probably cook a chicken off the ground nearby. And the Thunder doesn't like that, Intersphere technology being what it is. It's pretty durable, but you can see his record sheet over here on the right. It's completely filled in. He's losing crits left and right. LB-20 falls off the mech. He starts taking engine damage. It's not great. Hellstar eventually turns around, pans with his one gun, takes his shot, hits the left torso again, and wouldn't you know it, XL engine. Cicada stumbles to the ground, defeated. The Hellstar is victorious again, because, yeah, who didn't see that coming? So the Hellstar is now free to do whatever he wants, and he got all kinds of victory points for the effort. Yay for clan honor. Statistics also catch up with the Mad Cat. Having tried to run away with his honor intact, he takes a couple of rounds into the back, destroys his engine, and he falls over. Oh, well, I mean, he gave a good shot. Gargoyle continues to make his paycheck as he completely demolishes another hovercraft. All those side shots cause enough motive crits to cause like a plus 12 to his piloting skill rolls and causes it to be a 1-2. It's pretty messed up. But you know what? That's probably a win for Coinflip because all he could really hope out of that hovercraft is to delay another turn of shooting off of whatever's shooting at it, which, you know, it's okay. At this point, in terms of scoring, I'm actually way behind on this scenario. I've only got 2 units scoring on my hill. They've got 3. It's not great. I'm just going to kill him. Thunder Mech admits physics is a thing and falls over to the ground in a spray of confetti and various fusion engine parts. He's still okay for now, but, you know, you saw his record sheet. You can see his record sheet right there. It's pretty messed up. Supernova, however, goes critical. Sitting at 20 heat, he decides to fail on his first check for the engine and miraculously doesn't fall over. Apparently, he's done this before. It just kind of halts very slowly, becomes a very statuesque, menacing pile of molten metal. Which this presents a very interesting turn for the Intersphere. Do they continue to try to save the Thunder, or do they destroy the Supernova? It's a tough call, because the Supernova is immobile now. With the wagon circled and we've got problems on our end, as I use my first initiative steps, I stand the light mechs up. We're going to just sit here next to the hill and shoot at anything that gets close. We're going to make some sort of value out of them because, good lord, those are expensive mechs. Hellstar begins backpedaling as he's in his element, you know, a big open field, and decides to go ahead and try to support those light mechs. Again, the Thunder is going to try to make his metal worthwhile as he lights up his medium lasers? I don't recall what he had, but he doesn't have the LBX-20 anymore, so he's kind of toothless at this point. Initiative once again kind of screws me this turn, as I move nearly everything. This has kind of been a theme this entire game, as nearly everything in the clan inventory moves, and then half of the Intersphere assets do. I love the card initiative, but sometimes it's a little wonky. It's fine though, it's still fun. Intersphere begins doubling down, trying to open up the flank, try to overwhelm the Gargoyle with targets, but Gargoyle does not care. He is driving a Gargoyle because he already gave up on life. So he's just going to stand his ground. He walks forward. He has 2 juicy hover tanks that decided to only get like a +1 mod. He's going to split his fire, and he's going to end up getting 2 kills. This time he switched over to Infernos because he's got front shots, and It's an interesting call to make. We should do the math sometime. Clan commander begins reenacting a certain scene from The Lord of the Rings as he screams, "Shoot him! Take him down!" As everyone shoots at the thunder. It's a completely wasted amount of firepower as the Warhawk C manages to take him down by himself. Mad Cat Mark II begins laying down another set of smoke to try to, again, provide a little bit of cover as we try to walk away from the battlefield, because we're sure as hell not running. Barghest and Titan managed to make their presence completely unknown to everyone on the field as their shots mostly miss. They got an AC-20 on there. I do believe they tagged the Supernova several times, caused a PSR, put it into the ground, but the Supernova's fine. It's a tank. It's going to get right back up. And this is about where we called it. When it boiled down to it, we all looked at the score, and it was no contest. We're talking about a 30% spread here that the Intersphere had won the game according to the scenario. There was just no contest. Even winning the Honor Duel didn't manage to do much for me. I just wasn't playing the points quite like they were. But for what it's worth, we sat down and took a look at what the situation was, and Jade Falcon was just going to swamp them. We were going to mop them up. They had lost their Marauder, they had lost the Thunder, the Titan had taken some damage, and effectively the only thing the clan had lost at that point was the Mad Cat. And they had lost all their skirmishing assets at this point too. Even the Bushwhacker wasn't even in great shape. It was just a matter of turning around and starting to pick off everybody that couldn't run away. So it was very clearly a clan tactical victory, but we lost the scenario, and that's fair enough. So this has been an Ouchies Batrep, and thanks for watching.
Let's book it. What's the fastest way I can get away from you?
Like I would know what that was like.
He's a short range. We're not going to eject. We're taking our vehicle back. We're going to angle our buttocks out the window to try to shit faster to make the propellant of the ship, the mech, go. If we really crunch in.
I gotta see Chiron of that in the video.